On Look East late, long hours, huge pressure, intense stress. More GPs are quitting here than anywhere else in the UK. Some are even taking their own lives. We'll hear one family story in a moment, but first a roundup of today's other news. And Suffolk police say the formal identification of two people killed in an explosion could take several days. They died yesterday after a series of blasts at a bungalow in Lidgate near Newmarket. An inquest has heard that Prodigy singer Keith Flint had painkillers, drugs and alcohol in his system when he died. His body was discovered at his Essex home in March, but today the coroner said there was not enough evidence to conclude he'd intended to take his own life. A crane has toppled over and smashed into the roof of a house in Essex. Now, it was being used to lower materials over the roof of the property in Billericay when it tipped. The driver was trapped inside and treated by paramedics. Now here's a fact for you. More GPs in the East have left their jobs in the last 2 years than anywhere else in the UK. It means we have around 54 for every 100,000 people. Not surprising then that many become stressed and in some cases even suicidal. Richard Bennett was one of those, a GP from Felixstowe who took his own life. His family have been speaking to our health correspondent, Nikki Fox.
Waking up to say.
A precious moment with his two young daughters. A home video Holly and Rosie Bennett often look back on. Now teenagers, they say their father was a fantastic dad, but the pressures of being a GP made him ill.
I think people make complaints, they don't realise how much of an effect that has on the individual that they're sending that to.
You take a lot home with you in that line of work if you haven't been able to, fix someone.
Dr. Richie Bennett was in his 50s when his mental health deteriorated, working at this practice in the seaside town of Felixstowe.
He'd leave the house at 7 in the morning and often not get home till 7 at night. You're risking making hugely difficult medical decisions quite quickly.
Dr. Lucy Henshall works for the National GP Health Service. It provides mental health support for doctors. More than 1,000 registered in a year. She opened a recent conference with a speech on GP suicides.
This is a dirty secret of life in general practice.
It ended with a minute's silence for the GPs who had taken their lives. But in a statement, NHS England said new funding is ensuring the NHS GP health service is extended to all doctors across the country. And this will mean the NHS will have a more comprehensive national mental health support offer to doctors than any other country in the world. The NHS is taking steps to support doctors, but with an increasing elderly population and a large number of GPs retiring, protecting the health of those still in surgery could become even more important. Nikki Fox, BBC Look East.
Well, Lucy Henshall, who we saw in that report, knew Richard Bennett both personally and professionally. And as we heard, she's now working with the GP Health Service to support other GPs. Now, since it was set up 2.5 years ago, 1 in 20 have gone to that service for help.
Doctors don't have the time and space anymore to process the burden and the emotional burden of the caring they do day in, day out. They deal with human distress routinely, but they don't have anywhere to process that, and that takes its toll on mental well-being over time.
And that's where you come in. How are you trying to support and alleviate those pressures?
What we do is provide a compassionate space and a very confidential service where GPs can unburden. We are trained to cope, to keep going, and actually admitting that we're struggling doesn't come naturally. So the service is very receptive to the specific needs of the doctors, and actually the doctors who use the service do incredibly well. The majority return to work and regain the joy of general practice, because at the end of the day, it is a fantastic career looking after patients, but the people doing it are individual human beings, and their needs are not being met so that they can sustain that work, as my senior partner did when I joined my practice in 1995. He worked through and clocked up 33 years in general practice. I don't know many GPs that can foresee themselves doing that these days. It's just not sustainable.
Lucy Henshall talking to me earlier. Well, you've been getting in touch about all of this. Robbie's here with some of your comments. What have people been saying?
I mean, we've had a lot of emails come in tonight about GPs. Steve Cole emailed in to say one of the reasons that he believes a lot of GPs are leaving the profession is because the pensions are so good. He finished his email by saying, who can blame them taking early retirement? Now, we've also heard from Bob Green. He emailed in to talk about the amount of new houses that are being built and how that affects the amount of GPs there are. He said that it appears that there has not been enough provision for adequate infrastructure, including the need for health services. And finally, we heard from Peter Coles. Now, he lived in France for 15 years, and he says the French healthcare system makes the UK system seem like it's from the third world. But it is quite important to remember that in France they have to pay top-up fees for some of their healthcare.
Yeah, of course. Thanks very much, Rob. Well, as you can see, it's cosy on the sofa tonight. Alex is here, and you've got the weather for us.
Thank you very much, Amelia. Good evening. There's some showers still affecting some parts of the region at the moment, but they are expected to fade as we go through the night, so a largely dry end to the night, but staying quite cloudy. Temperatures anywhere between 5 and 7 Celsius. Now, the area low pressure that brought us rain today still on the scene for tomorrow, so expect a bit of a cloudy start with some early rain to clear, and then brighter skies follow with some sunshine. It's going to stay quite windy on the North Norfolk coast. Wind gusts could be up to around 30 to 40 miles an hour. So feeling a little cool with highs of around 13 or 14 degrees. And into the afternoon, there's a chance of some showers developing, and any of these showers could be heavy or thundery. The national weather's coming up, but here's the outlook into Friday. We're expecting some sunshine around and some showers. Still a little cool and unsettled, but high pressure starts to build from Saturday onwards. So more settled conditions on the way and warmer temperatures into the weekend and beyond.